Fire Emblem Engage Maddening throws a ton of enemies at you and expects you to know what to do about it. So in this video, I'm going to outline different techniques and mechanics you can use to delay and stall enemies. So stalling an enemy is essentially just preventing it from making progress, or if you have a huge group of enemies like these guys over here and you don't want them to kill you, stalling them is your best bet. So let's go over all the different methods. All right, so the first one, you can already see it set up here. It's Lucina Bond Shield. Bond Shield essentially allows a small group of units to tank almost anything. Now, provided they don't get backup or chain attack spammed, as long as their speed is high enough and you're using the correct setup. So for example, if you have Flyer Bonded Shield set up, all the other flyers have 100% block rate on the first hit per enemy. So if there's 100 enemies and you're all fast enough and there's not backups in there, you can tank all of them. You also can kill them while tanking. So for example, if I want, I can move up here, Bond Shield, move my flyers up, and then these enemies can attack me for free. Like, they can attack me as much as they want, they're not going to kill me. So this is probably one of the strongest ways of delaying, because you also kill things and you can move it around, so you can actively move where it goes. And if you have canter, you can straight up attack things, kill them, and then canter back to the bonded shield. So as long as a unit enters the bond shield, they receive the benefit. But if they're, it doesn't matter if they're next to them, like when it's activated or not. They just have to be next to them as long as it's activated. All right, so another method is Corrin. Corrin is probably, Corrin and Lucina are probably the best emblems for delaying. Corrin has a lot of tricks up her sleeve. She can put down fire. So for example, if I did a Dragon Vein here, I could delay these. Now I'd want to do it probably back a little bit further to let these enemies come in. So I could let these enemies approach and put a fire here, and they're not going to be able to attack me. So fire is really good for delaying. Ice is really good for delaying. Fire is, in my opinion, fire is better than ice because it damages enemies and it can't be broken. Ice can block flyers, however, so flyers can fly over fire. So if you're dealing with flyers, ice is definitely better. If you're dealing with ground unit spam like I am in this map, then fire is definitely superior because fire damages and ice can be broken. So if they break 2 ice tiles, they can still get in because you just get 2 ice, right? You get a layer of 2. It's like a 3x2 situation, whereas the fire is 1 fire tile in front of you and then a 3x3. So you can hit more enemies, you can delay more enemies. It's pretty useful. You can use it for free every turn, which is pretty broken, and it's also, fire is also on Mystic, ice is on Chi Adept, and then dragon type can use either. So arguably Vale would be a good user of Corrin late game. But you're probably going to have sages. You're probably going to have magic users. I think sage is one of the best classes for sure. I've been running it more. I actually have 4 sages on this run just to test it, just to see how it performs. But fire and ice, definitely huge. And then obviously her ult. So if she uses Torrential Roar, use Corrin's Torrential Roar. What this does is it freezes all the hit targets and adjacent targets. So you can freeze a huge group of enemies. You can, if there's a 3x3 group of enemies, you can freeze all of them with a single use, and you can canter afterwards, which is pretty crazy. You cannot canter after using Vein, though. So if an enemy can still hit you, and you can't dance or protect that unit, they can still die or get attacked. But you can canter after doing this, and this freezes a huge group. So Corrin has active and passive ways to freeze. And then, of course, there's also this little number. If you engage and you attack something and you hit a group, so let's say you hit in the middle of a plus shape, you can freeze with basic attacks. So after you use your Torrential Roar, you can just do this. You can poke things. So you can deal damage, and then it freezes all of them. Now your Corrin unit should have canter. I actually don't know why I didn't put canter on him. I think he can actually get it. I think I've just been I keep forgetting to put it on him, but he should have canter so he can canter out. But yeah, you can freeze small groups like this. Now this would be a bad use case because I'm going to die to these Wolf Knights now. So what I would rather do here is probably move Ivy back, move like this to let them in, because I have a bunch of mages that can harass them at range, so I just use a Dragon Vein here. So I want them to get in, but I just want to slow them down. And I have some 3 ranges, I have a Byleth, I have a Dancer, so we have some tools to just like nuke them down as they enter. But Corrin has a lot going on with her for delaying enemies. Another thing you can use to delay is actually Lyn. Funny enough, so Lyn can create doubles, and enemies prioritize these doubles if they cannot one-round your units. So if they're like 5 enemies, right, and all of them could, like if 2 of them attacked a unit and it would die, like they will ignore that if there are 4 doubles. Because here's what will happen. As long as they can't one-round you, they will look at the double as a unit that they can one-round. They will one-round a unit, like a real unit, over a double if they can. But if they can't, if you have 5 enemies that can't one-round, they will all attack a double. So you can lightning rod enemies away from your team, and you can use doubles. Like once the doubles are down, you can use them again. So you can just create walls of doubles, and also the doubles can dodge and they can counterattack. So there are instances where I've had doubles counterattack and crit, or just survive like 3 combats. So you can get huge value just from having doubles. So definitely good to know. But also keep in mind that if the Lyn user is low on health, and there are a bunch of enemies near you and you pop doubles, they'll probably kill a double and then kill that Lyn user. So that's something to watch out for. That's happened to me. It can be harder to heal the Lyn user because they're surrounded by doubles, so you'd want someone like Hortensia or Physic users in that case. But Lyn doubles, I think, are kind of slept on. They're pretty crazy. Another thing that's really good is Ike on off tanks. So off tanks are units that have good speed, good defense, and good res. They're not like main tanks like generals. And in my opinion, they're actually better than generals because with Ike, they take half damage, and with their high speed, they basically take almost no damage. So if this Gold Mary attacks, she's taking 11 damage on counterattack, but she can also be like a bruiser and actively tank like while attacking. So now she's taking 5 damage on counterattack. But imagine like if there were, I don't know, six of these dudes going to attack her, she could tank them all easily with Ike popped. So Ike can delay. You can also use Great Aether. So if you know you can't counterattack a bunch of enemies incoming, you can deal damage in an AoE and also heal a little bit while tanking. So Ike is really useful for body blocking, for stalling, for just being a bruiser. So I could have like an Ike probably like here if I wanted. She'd probably be fine because she's fast enough to not get doubled by anything. So as long as you have high speed and good defense bases, taking half damage usually means you can tank like 3 to 4 enemies at a time. And if you equip something like a Javelin, you can counterattack everything that hits you at 1 to 2 range. And yeah, it's pretty nice. I use it on a lot of maps. I use it on Chimera. In this case, my Chimera is under-leveled. I just started using her. And I actually power leveled this Gold Mary from level 1 in this playthrough. Not from since I got her, probably like a few chapters late, and she's popping off, so. Alright, next we have Roy. Now I don't have Roy right now because I have to steal it from this child. So, this kid took our Roy and we have to take it back. But Roy's fire attack is actually really good, so you have to engage Roy, and then you use the AoE attack. And what it does is it creates a 3x3 fire tile, and it creates it, so like let's say the enemy is right here. Let's say Chimera has it, I use it on this enemy. It creates it like here, and then back. So that can be useful for delaying enemies temporarily. It only lasts for 1 turn, and you can't spam it because you just have 1 use, because it is his like ult, essentially, after you engage. But it still can delay enemies, and it's really useful. And if you put it on like a bruiser with good defense bases, like Gold Mary, or Chimera with good defense and speed, you can usually tank the 1 to 2 enemies that can get to you, because obviously if you're hitting an enemy with it, they can hit you because they're right there. So you have to be mindful of that. And also fire isn't, like if an enemy is 1 tile away in fire and they're on a horse, they can usually get out of it. If they're like 2 tiles away, they can still kind of get through it. So for example, look at this Wolf Knight. She still has pretty good range. So she can move 2 in and then hit this tile. So even though fire is good, you have to be aware that mounted units can still get a little bit in there. And if they have a 2 range weapon, they can still kind of hit you. So you got to be mindful of that. Other things that can delay enemies. Wolf Knight can, in of itself, because of Hobble. So if you hit a dude with a knife, they get move -2. So this is actually great with fire. It's also good in general. Like, let's say there's an enemy flying unit that the Wolf Knight can tank because it has decent defense bases and it's fast enough to not get one-rounded by it. It can throw a knife at a flyer to protect your squishies. So Wolf Knight can be a useful utility for that reason. Another thing, this is the final thing, because I am starting to take more notes now, which, you know, this is how I used to do things for the triangle strategy days. Body blocking with tanks. So similar to just using Ike and body blocking, like just having like a tanky unit, even without something, like just like a general or something, just body blocking can help delay enemies and stall them out, even if they don't attack the unit. Same thing with the void tanks. So void tanks on avoid tiles or Corrin fog strats can drastically delay enemies, even if they don't attack those units. So for example, if you had Yunaka and Zelkov at insane avoid rates just sitting in fog, you could block down an entire choke if enemies can't even hit them because their avoid's so high, so you can literally just stall out games. So that's actually pretty broken strategy. So it's worth mentioning for delaying. And then also, the final one is Obstruct. So Obstruct is really useful. You can delay a single lane. And one nice thing about Obstruct, so here's like a perfect example of where I could use Obstruct. So enemies will prioritize attacking players over Obstruct tiles, like over ice tiles. So if you Obstruct here, you completely seal off a flank, and also enemies will ignore the Obstruct and attack your units. So if you have a bonded shield going, you can Obstruct like extra tiles or freeze or use fire on extra tiles to prevent them from getting past your units, and also forces them to fight them, which is hugely useful, and I've used this on a ton of maps. You can also extend the range of a body block. So if you have like a 3-lane body block and it's like a 5-lane area and enemies can get through, you can Obstruct 2 tiles. You can also combine things like Micaiah plus Obstruct, and that allows you to create a plus shape for Obstruct. And of course you can Micaiah freeze, so you can AoE freeze on Micaiah. The freeze staff is also useful for delaying. Obstruct is useful for delaying. I'm probably missing like 1 or 2 things because there's a ton of mechanics in this game. I'm not covering DLC yet. I'll probably get DLC soon. I'm just having fun with the base game, to be honest. I don't want to add all these extra things into it this early. But yeah, that's it for this one. It's a comprehensive guide on stalling enemies using all the mechanics that I'm aware of. This is mostly for like mid to end game. There are definitely more mechanics. There's probably like a few things I'm missing, I'm sure, because there's quite a bit. But yeah, definitely like and subscribe if you found this useful or interesting. Drop a comment, let me know if there are any stall mechanics that I missed. And I will see you. Oh yeah, Chain Guard, of course. That lets you tank too. Alright, thanks for checking this out. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.